Hey there, it's Cheryl. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because there's a lot going on in my household, especially with a high school senior in the house. So we're going to be talking about rules for teens to use change as a superpower. Now, I'm not sure at your house if there's any, I'm trying to think of a more technical word, but I can't. I don't know if there's any freak out going on. There's a little bit of that going on in my house. And so I'm going to share some tips that I share with my daughter, Megan, to help her manage all of this change that's happening. And you know what? Change can be difficult for anyone, but especially teens with school starting up, this is really a big one. Going from the transition from summer into the rigors of academics, extracurricular, sports. For some, there's college applications, standardized testing, and not to mention if there's any shifts going on in friend groups. So we're going to talk about how teens can use some of these changes as a superpower, keeping in mind that they have a choice. A lot of these changes, they can actually be paralyzing, meaning that their schoolwork can suffer, their progress in their sport can suffer, and also some of the shifts in their friend groups, their relationships can suffer if they don't know how to manage some of this change effectively. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Just going to be 3 rules to help teens manage change, not just manage it, but use it to their advantage. Now, the first thing is that teens need to have a proper mindset surrounding change. Now, let me explain that for a second. A lot of times, emotions surrounding change, they're very reactionary. School's starting and my classes are really hard, that makes me nervous. Or my friend group's blowing up and that makes me sad. So these emotions that they have with change, they're very reactionary. But teens need to be reminded that although emotions tend to be reactionary, they have control over their feelings. So when things happen, they can have whatever emotion they're having. It's fine and it's normal, but then they need to make a choice how they choose to feel about it. Keeping in mind that if they panic, it tends to be paralyzing, meaning that they cannot study very well for their classes, and also it's going to compromise their relationships that they're having at school and all sorts of different things. So it's very important that whatever emotions they feel, whatever emotions they experience with change, they choose to feel them in a positive manner. So in other words, have a positive mindset surrounding these emotions. Now we're going to get into more detail about how that they can do that. The second thing is that teens need to be agile. That means that they need to be able to shift gears. Consider that all high schoolers are between 1 and 4 years away from going away to school. Typically, not everyone's going to go away, but most kids do. And so they need to be agile, which means they need to be able to shift gears. For example, we talked about maybe a friend group is, like I said, blowing up. So they need to think about, okay, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to shift gears? So they don't want to stay too long in the drama of what's happening. They want to assess the situation and then shift gears. So what I mean by that is they need to choose who they want to strengthen relationships with. In other words, which relationships are serving them, and maybe who they might want to distance themselves a little bit. Doesn't mean break off ties completely. There's different circles of friendships. Maybe it's time to push someone to the outside of that circle if that relationship is not serving them. In other words, they need to be agile and ready to shift gears when it comes to their friend groups. Also, let's say in math class, they do not understand what is going on or it's very confusing. They need to be agile with that as well. How are they going to shift gears? They need to maybe take advantage of some resources at school, talk to the teacher, hop on Khan Academy, review some concepts there for free, and or maybe check a book out or buy a book that breaks down concepts and makes them really simple. I know that I bought one of those books last year for geometry for my daughter. It was really helpful. So in other words, teens need to be agile. And finally, It's very helpful if teens can commit to taking control. A lot of times when I talk to teens, they feel the most anxious is when they don't have control. So the third rule for teens to use change as a superpower is for them to take control over some of these situations that are changing so they can improve them. For example, they need to be proactive when it comes to organization, time management, study habits, and also managing distractions, how they're going to practice for their sport, what are their intentions, what do they want to get done there. So they need to think about all of the different buckets in their life, what's important to them, and then think about what they have control over to make it better. That way they're not going to feel like school's controlling them, their sports controlling them, their friend groups controlling them. That is really what makes teens feel a little bit unglued. So the 3 rules for teens to use change as a superpower are to have the proper mindset, meaning whatever is happening and whatever emotion they feel is okay and completely normal, but they need to have a positive mindset and that it will all work out. The second thing is that they need to get more agile, and what that just means is they need to be able to switch gears when needed. And finally, they need to commit to taking control so they can have control over the main buckets in their different situations. I hope you found this content useful. If you did, please pass it along if you think it might help someone else. Also, keep in mind, I want to make this content real for you. Please do reach out to me with any questions or comments. I'm very glad to have short conversation with you and or your teen. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.